secretary under the Clinton administration are all coming to talk about building the 22nd century. This is a type of conference that the Dean of Northwestern, when I invited him, he bent over backwards to figure out how to get here. The Dean of Cornell jumped on the opportunity to be a participant. The Dean of Carnegie Mellon asked me, I just was at a Big Ten Plus engineering meeting last week, he asked me if he could be put on the program, right? These are the kinds of people, this is the kind of visibility that we are now creating because we are singularly focusing on the strengths in Nebraska and the strengths in Omaha. Right? Big Ten, this is the second thing, is not just about highfalutin esoteric research. I actually did my PhD in Michigan, and I have a colleague who started as a faculty member at Michigan a little before I finished my PhD there. And we were talking really just about less than 10 years ago. And he was saying that when Michigan decided, so when I was at Michigan, we were only a top 10 engineering college, right? When Michigan made the intentional effort to push into the top 5, what my friend said is, they said the thing that we had to do was to get really, really serious about undergraduate education, because that's what really distinguishes the top 5 from the top 10, right? If you look at the Big Ten, which has a number of top 5 schools in it, the leaders in engineering education, Purdue, Stanford is actually part of the Big Ten Plus, MIT is part of the Big Ten Plus, Michigan, Illinois, they're all really, really pushing hard. They are the innovators, the groundbreakers in engineering education. We have a number of people in this room who are active in engineering education and really putting us on the map. I just want to point out one, Professor Stu Bernstein back there is putting together this we just jokingly call it the teleconference on steroids, right? So it's a way of linking classrooms in different geographic locations around the world. IIT Delhi is interested in participating in this, and we're working with tribal colleges in New Mexico to basically create classrooms where you can put communities of students together and use the technologies that exist now so that everybody feels like they're all part of the same classroom. Right? And these are the kinds of state-of-the-art, advanced engineering education paradigms and things that are going to put us out there among the best of the engineering colleges. So this is what we're all about. And this merger and working together, PKI is going to be the laboratory where all this stuff starts coming together. And that's why we're really so excited about what happened on Friday, is because we got at the state level an affirmation. The regents acting as agents of the state of Nebraska said, this is what the state needs, go do it. That's what we're so excited about. So, unless you really know, we'll open this up to questions.
With the telepresence, do you agree that having a professor in the room with just those students instead of having a professor with double the class size, isn't the student-to-teacher ratio, that's important to our learning, right? And then the fact that how are we going to be able to, especially with engineering, how are we going to be able to ask for help if our professors in Dean compared to here in Omaha, they give us a lot of help that we need either at their office or after class, before class. How are they going to be able to do that with telepresence?
These are all things that have to be worked out. We will be sure. We haven't rolled the whole thing. Are we rolling it out right now, or is it next semester? Or next semester. It's next semester. I mean, these are detailed. The telepresence. I mean, Stu's already. We've done it for a year. There were 2 classrooms linked side by side, right? And what's that?
That was estimated. What was it?
I'm sorry?
Instruction. It's new technology. You know, you have to work on, and that's engineering education research. Right? We're not, you know, you're going to have to work out certain details. You're going to the nice thing about the technology is the student feedback is that irrespective of whether the professor's actually in the room or in the other room, they actually feel like the professor's in the room. That was a huge issue, right? And that seems to have that issue seems to have been resolved. We are going to have to make sure that, and so the in-class exchanges occurred actually quite naturally. Right? We do have to make sure that you will have access to the same office hours that you have, right? And pretty much all the faculty that have basically joint programs and things, both in Lincoln and Omaha, have been put on notice that you guys are going to have to start traveling. Right? So, yeah, I mean, it's not something you just kind of throw it out there and just hope it works. And I mean, these are all, you know, how you address these problems and how you solve these problems. I mean, the regular classroom has its imperfections too, right? And so the idea of looking at flipped learning, where you actually do the lecture online and then come into the classroom for just discussion and problem solving, right? I mean, these are all things, and there's we could actually become famous. Stu can actually become famous by publishing papers on how this thing works and how it works better for classrooms. What it does give you is, so IIT Delhi is arguably the best engineering college in all of India, right? I mean, they view themselves as the MIT of India. Their director was a visiting faculty member here, right? And I talked to him about this this past summer, and he wants to be involved. So there's an opportunity to connect without even us having people having to travel internationally. You can have an international experience by putting two classrooms together. And there's nothing to say that the classrooms have to be big, right? I mean, we're trying to figure out, so can we do student project groups with this technology? There's tremendous opportunity that we haven't really explored yet, because it's all very new, right? But yeah, there's bugs we're going to have to work out. There's opportunities that we have to cash in.
Your central concern was, are you still going to have help from faculty members who are really engaged in doing what you have?
That's one big thing. And the fact that student-to-teacher ratio has always been an obvious factor on the quality of education. And
Depends on the student, depends on the faculty member.
well, but most of the stuff that you read, that is
It explains some of the variance. And the goal of this isn't to create bigger classes than fewer classes. It's to add more curricular offerings to the menu of classes you can take here without having to. And so that, you know, one of the things that everybody up here cares a lot about is that you have the same access to the professor that you have now.
The other thing is, I actually have taught those classes, not in engineering or IST, and actually the two-way video audio was in here in Scott Hall, even though it wasn't an engineering class. And in the class, you know, I drove down and taught the other direction several times during the semester, so that everybody could see the interaction one-to-one, but also could make sure that the learning objectives were being met, and the educational experience was beneficial no matter which side whichever side of the screen you were on. So technology's come a long way since when I taught. And I think there will be challenges and bugs and other kinds of things to work out. But the learning, my experience was the learning objectives were very equivalent, whether you were in Lincoln or Omaha, in terms of the experience of students. And that's Stu's problem. Stu, your job is to make that work, right?
But we just spent, I forgot the exact number, we just spent tens of thousands of dollars upgrading the existing television technology, just to make sure that works in the transition. Professor Hudgens from electrical engineering is teaching the wind turbine class. Right? And this is all part of bringing the electrical engineering degree here to Omaha, in addition to electronics engineering, computer engineering. And he's driving, he teaches one day in Lincoln and one day in Omaha. He teaches television back and forth.
I want to reinforce that Dean Wei has made clear to all of us in Lincoln, me included, that he expects us to spend a lot more time on understanding.
There's a question over here.
You kind of just addressed the question. I was just going to ask, is it feasible to have teachers driving back and forth so that whole classes in Omaha would get the same amount of one-on-one time with the professor?
Yeah, and that would be, any of the link classes, that would be, I mean, so we have to say on average. But on average, you know, I mean, construction management, Stu Bernstein spends a lot of time in Omaha. I actually run into it because he's all over the place. You know, I actually stop by when I'm here. I stop by his office here. I actually very rarely ever find him in his office. I don't think it's because he's out on the golf course. Right? Might be. Please don't tell me. But I actually end up seeing him more in Lincoln than I do here in Omaha. And so he's prototypical of the types of practices. Just one other comment to the in the growth plan that we put together for engineering. I recognized at the very beginning when I first got here that one of the strengths of Nebraska is the undergraduate to faculty student ratio is 17-1. Every single one of our counterparts in the Big Ten would kill, except for Northwestern, which is a private university. All the publics would kill for that student faculty ratio because of that intimacy of interaction. And the growth plan holds that student faculty ratio. And so it's what Dr. White said, really creating more opportunities for you students, irrespective of whether you're thinking or not. But I'm sorry.
The first question is, this telepresence thing seems like you could make it work for a lecture, but what is that going to do about labs? TAs don't have the same experience and knowledge base that a professor would. And relying on the TA to answer everything, I'm not sure if that's particularly wise.
Yes, and I never said it was a solution for everything. It will be primarily lecture.
But if you've got these professors that are, so you're saying the professors that the teleconferencing won't, all the professors who are lab classes will still be up on this campus, basically? Is that what you're trying, or driving back and forth, commuting professors, in other words?
Well, hands-on is hands-on, so I'm not sure I'm not sure we have the technology yet where I can reach into a wall and turn a knob. Right, so I mean, the labs are going to have to be physically.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this sort of thing sounds like it would have an impact on the quantity and the quantity of lab time that would be available. If you have a professor commuting, that might negatively impact the amount of lab blocks you could have, or the ability to, or even the ability to have the professor really all the way there at lab. Mentally there, I mean.
The fast answer is the only plan on labs would be to increase labs, not decrease. Right? I mean, we're trying to do this to both lectures and labs, and all of this is about creating more opportunities, not less. I'll get back to you. I just want to give
I'm still not clear to what's the benefit of merging Lincoln and Omaha. It's to offer more courses.